Julius?
Very good. 7-year-old boy, and a 3-month-old boy.
You got the 7-year-old playing ball yet?
Oh yeah, he's in all the sports.
Nice.
Okay, we are live and
The hell was that?
means we're live.
Ladies and gentlemen, episode number 1 of On Point Discussion. A new home, new show, same guests, hosts. Damn, hosts, not. Already lots of bloopers. It's all good. It's all good. So, On Point Discussion, episode number 1 on this fine Wednesday night in early April at Bears Fanatic 194. Joined by my 3 co-hosts, Rhino at Sports Talk Rhino, Julius at the Fifth Top, and Wyatt at the Cornelius 7. Gentlemen, welcome aboard. Welcome to a new network, a new show. Probably the same format. We're still talking through that, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Episode number 1, guys. Rhino, how are you? Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. You look exhausted.
It was a long day at work today. I worked in 11 today. I was all over the state of Wisconsin. I started in Madison, went down to Beloit, and even dipped down into Rockford, Illinois a little bit for work. Left the house at 5, didn't get home till 4. I'm beat, man. I was carrying around about 120 pounds of equipment up to the roof, across the roof, all over the place. It was a rough day, but it was a gorgeous day. And luckily we avoided the rain today, so.
Well, you're very lucky because here in Milwaukee, it literally poured rain. My drive home was very slow and lots of traffic, lots of lightning and thunder. And now I'm looking out my window and it's just, it's a beautiful afternoon now. So yeah, it's been a wild day, needless to say. Julius, how are you, sir? How's it going?
I'm doing great. First episode on point discussion. I'm super excited. Happy to be here and ready to talk. It's been a busy week so far. It's a young week, but a busy week. And this is my hobby of the week. So I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, it has been, needless to say, it has been a very long week. without any doubt. Wyatt, how are you, sir?
Good. I thought Julius's hobby was knitting. That's what he told me the other day, but
Hey, that was a secret, Wyatt.
He told you that in confidence, Wyatt. Thanks.
Yeah, he told me that in confidence, Wyatt. What's going on?
I don't trust humans.
Today was a good day because Juan was trolling me on Twitter because my team started 0-4, the Atlanta Braves, and they won 2 today. So keep trolling, Juan. They're about to win 151 more games in a row. And I'm excited.
God, that's a tough scene. That's really tough one. I'm sorry for you. I think my good old White Sox, I believe, are actually losing right now as we speak. So I'm pretty upset now as well. But yeah, the Cubs took a loss today too against the Brewers down in 80 miles to our south. So that was another very tough scene down at Wrigleyville. So
I know that's how Bears fans feel.
Yeah,
that's how Bear fans feel because Chicago disappoints.
Before we move any further on the show, I'd like to announce our official sponsorship here of On Point Discussion, One Call Technology, based out of the great state of Tennessee. And right now, if you head on over to One Call's website at onecalltech.com, give them a call, or you can give them a call at 1-888-585-8850 and tell them that we sent you. We'll help you out, give you some good service and a good rates on any technology-related service that you or your business needs. So remember to head on over there. Gentlemen, let's go ahead and get started. As has been the tradition, news, commentary, political talk, and much more in this first segment. I think it's only appropriate, gentlemen, that we begin with, since this is our first show on the new network, that we start to break down exactly what we are going to be doing here, some of the goals that we have moving forward, not only with the show, but with, the network as a whole. So for starters, we are a small but emerging network of a multitude of podcasts covering, everything from Alabama football down in, Tuscaloosa to covering the Green Bay Packers up at Titletown, everything in between and everywhere in between. The Packers are still trash.
Okay, not
But
yet.
that's
Not yet. It's episode 1. Episode 1.
There,
We can't
There's
start
always-
off the first episode with facts, Rhino. We're a factual network, a factual show, and Juan continues to spit facts.
You meant to say that Aaron Rodgers sucks at Jeopardy host, not that the Packers suck.
Okay, first of all, I will not stand for Aaron Rodgers host slander. He has done a phenomenal job.
I'm just kidding.
There's so many other things that I would much rather be doing than watching Jeopardy.
Oh,
Hosted
dude,
by
they had
Aaron-
Jeopardy on Netflix, and I watched like 4 seasons of it. I love that show.
And it just happens to be that another thing that I would much rather be doing is sitting here recording this podcast with you guys right now. We are a network full of different ideas, differing opinions, and differing personalities across a wide range of, spectrum. The main goal here is to allow our listeners and viewers to entertain different ideas, different thoughts, opinions, in a respectable and free, manner. More often than not, the issue with a lot of networks is that, the people at the top dictate everything that has to happen at the bottom, but they do it in a way that is very authoritarian and non-democratic. And here at the Lounge Room Network, that will not be the case. I don't, expect that to happen. I don't want it to happen. And, it'll be my number one priority to make sure that everyone is satisfied at all times, that they enjoy what they do, and that I am listening to all of the grievances that are presented to me by anyone in the network as a whole. So this whole, the whole concept of starting this up happened about a week ago. After some unfortunate events from some other individuals who we won't list here tonight. But the launching pad, in my opinion, was set. And that was the key to making what is now the Lounge Room Network. And I am fortunate enough to sit here with my three executives, my 3 fellow coworkers in this, per se. And
Most importantly, friends.
well, between me and you, Rhino, that's a little questionable. But yes, mostly.
I meant Wyatt and Julius.
But most importantly, yes, as Rhino reiterates, as Rhino says, yes, friends. And I am very, very optimistic for where this will all go. And I will toss it over to our Vice President of Operations, my right-hand man, Mr. Rhino Alberts.
For any Sopranos fans that are out there, I am the consigliere. I am Syl, and Juan, if you can make this analogy in your head, is Tony Soprano. So that's the kind of relationship we plan on having with this podcast. But we're very excited to get this podcast out here, and we're excited with the concept behind the each individual podcast. Like Juan was saying, we've got an Alabama podcast, we have a Cubs podcast, a fantasy football podcast. We've got a Packers, Brewers, Lions podcast potentially, and we want them to express themselves individually and in their own way. So we're excited to have each individual person put their own spin on their own podcast, and just make sure they know that if we grow to the size we want to grow, it's going to be because of all of us and not just us 4 at the top. So fame will be shared equally if we reach the heights that we aspire to reach, and we're all very excited to be a part of this and do it our own way. That's one thing that a lot of podcasters who are part of networks, and I won't name any networks in specific, but a lot of podcasters that are part of networks may experience not being able to have their own individuality or do their podcast the way they specifically want to do it or have their concerns met with a reaction, a positive reaction. So that's one thing that we are excited to have. We're all friends, we're all having a good time so far in the 2-ish weeks that this network is in. It's in its infancy stage. So we're very excited to bring a lot more to the table going forward. We hope everyone who's listening has a chance to tune into each individual podcast that we present on this network.
Yes, and I really just want to echo the importance to me, right, of transparency and what exactly we're doing behind the scenes. So many of you will recall that last week during the first 3 days of the network being launched and of the network kind of getting its roots in and whatnot, I would deliver press briefing, or I would just kind of update everyone on how things were coming along, what exactly we were doing behind the scenes. And the reason for that is because I think that if those at the top are able to share, those details, right, moving forward, should something come up, people are able to see, right, what exactly, was kind of transpiring at the very beginning, and just kind of having that ability to go back and say, well, this is what you said back then, and you have to keep true to those words so that it doesn't come back and haunt you months or years down the road. So I guess in the 21st century term, right, keeping receipts per se. I mean, it's
accountability,
and unfortunately, in a lot of situations, that just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. So I really don't want this network to turn into something that's toxic. And I think that if we continue to have that transparency, continue to be open, not just with our own individuals in the network, but with everyone else who is of our audience, I think we can avoid a lot of those problems moving forward. So if Julius or Wyatt, if either of you want to say, share your thoughts, whoever wants to go first, please go ahead.
I do want to mention a couple things. Like I reiterated earlier, I am very happy to be here with you guys to talk, because talking is one of my favorite things to do, other than punch air on Twitter all day. I actually like to speak real words to real people, and you guys provide that. So I want to thank all of you. I also want to thank all our listeners who came over from our previous show and, continue to support us. We have, we just got a great following, and it just gets better and better. And I really love all our followers, all our listeners. We want to make this show something unique and something that stands out in the crowd, because right now it is, Twitter, the age of Twitter we live in is rock and roll, and we want to be American Bandstand. So, we're going to do our best to bring ideas from every angle, and real honest ideas, and genuine approach. And we just want to be real. And I'm happy to be here again, and I'm ready to talk.
That was a great analogy, dude. Oh, that was a great analogy.
Now I got to top it.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I think I just saw some more like tulips across the street just kind of sprout up, once you were talking.
Rays of sunshine. Rays of sunshine are
doves.
beating in.
The sun came
flying
out.
around you.
I used to be Captain Planet in former life.
Let me say one thing. Like, when we had our first initial meeting about the creation last week on Zoom, you can see the passion with the different genres of podcasts that are going to be on the Lounge Network. You got people who have passion for Alabama, people for the Packers, the Lions, talking about different hot topics like we do. There's just fantasy football. There's always a passion for that. So just hearing this, because when we first started listening to podcasts, you had a passion, you had a thirst for it. You wanted to listen to what they said about the Bears, the Packers, the Lions, baseball, fantasy, anything. Just gaining knowledge. Maybe you're listening to podcasts where there's a host interviewing people. And you could see that when we first had that meeting last Friday. And so that's what I want from this network is you bring your podcast, you have your genre, and you bring that passion, and you get listeners from that. We're just regular fans, like I'm a Bears fan, I'm a Braves fan. Juan's a White Sox fan, he's a Bears fan. Julius, I don't know, I can't even pronounce his team. I don't even know if they play in the NFL, but they have passion for him. I'm just kidding, Julius. I love you.
It's the P-Wing team down the state line.
I'm gonna circle back on that, fellas. I'm gonna circle back on that.
Okay. But I just see the passion, and that's what we do. Like we love listening to podcasts. We love creating podcasts. And what I saw last Friday, you saw that passion, and that's what, if people are wanting to join the network as podcasters, you have to bring that same passion, and we're not going to have any of that, cliquish type of thing that you see in high school, and even sometimes on Twitter with some of these other people. So that's what I'm excited about for this network, is the passion that we bring to our podcast and listening to others' podcasts.
Last time I saw a Lions game on TV, I'm pretty sure I saw a fan holding a sign that said, "We want Bama."
Guess what, Rhino? Guess what? Too early in the show. I usually have to tell Juan this, okay? But hey, Wyatt, I'm getting attacked from all angles, and we're only like 10 minutes into this network. Congratulations.
I can't attack Packers because they beat us all the time, so I have to attack the Lions.
You gotta attack the Packers because they choke.
Don't bring that choke crap.
Julius.
Don't bring that choke crap over to this show.
You got to do it, Julius. Come on. What happens? What do they do?
Oh God, it's bad. NFC championship every year.
All right. Can we move on to the next segment, please?
The Atlanta Braves are chokers because they choked.
The last thing I'm going to say on this, and then we can get into our single big news topic for the week here. Is sincerely, and I've reiterated this many times, and I'm going to say it again. Thank you to all of the supporters, the audience, the individuals on Twitter, our sponsors, One Call Tech down in the great state of Tennessee, for taking the opportunity to sponsor our name. And I very, very, very much, appreciate it sincerely. And I am very excited to see where this moves, in the coming weeks and months and hopefully years, we'll see. So, all right. Now that we got our nice, got to vent all that out, we're about 12 minutes to the top of the hour here. Let's go ahead and talk about the big news story of the week, which of course is the passport that is being proposed right now by President Biden for those who have the COVID shot, and then for those who don't. This is a very, very controversial topic, if you guys really sit down and think about it, because a lot of people are saying, well, there's so many people who, for example, right, are against having an ID to vote. And this is kind of the comparison that people are making is, you don't want people to have an ID to vote, but you want to force people to, to go around and have this COVID vaccine passport on them. And I don't know, again, I'm in the middle. I'm torn on it. I'm not taking any side just because I haven't really it hasn't really mattered that much to me, I guess, if that makes sense. I'm fully vaccinated. I mean, if I need to show that to get in somewhere, I mean, I'll do it. But I can also understand why people are also kind of up in arms about it. Like, what the hell? I mean, what is this? And so much so that actually today over in Utah, they actually decided to, the governor signed the bill, which is going to outlaw those, COVID passports. So we're already starting to see reaction from individual states who don't want this to go in effect, right? So your thoughts, whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first.
Go ahead, Rhino. Rhino is always ready to give us his great vast knowledge. Go ahead, Rhino. What do you think?
So I'm not even going to dip into the controversial side of this vaccine passport, with the voter ID and all of that argument. There's a couple fundamental arguments that can be made against the vaccine passport. And the first one is the science. Now, obviously, the science suggests and it supports the fact that the vaccine can, prevent severe COVID conditions. It can prevent, the death rate from increasing, all of that. But the one thing that there is no concrete, solid evidence on is the fact that the vaccine will stop transmission of the virus. So as it is right now, as it is scientifically concluded, you can still transmit the virus just as easily with the vaccination as you can without the vaccination. So there's that aspect of it. The other aspect is the discrimination behind it. Obviously, we've seen in the United States alone that the vaccination has rolled out in sections. Obviously, the first section of people that were able to get the vaccination were frontline workers. Then after that, they some states did it by age, some states did it by health concerns, what have you. And there are a lot of people who have yet to have access to the vaccination, and B, there are people that may not want the vaccination, people who don't believe in vaccinations, which is their right, regardless of what the science suggests. It is their right to avoid and even decline vaccination. So there's that stigmatism behind avoiding vaccinations that might prevent these individuals from traveling the world, going and seeing what they want to do, having that family time. And then I guess the other thing, the prematurity of rolling out a vaccination passport, and what I mean by that is we still have really yet to conclude that there aren't going to be more variants of this virus. I mean, one thing that viruses do in response to a vaccination is they can become stronger. You can see different strains of the virus that might be the vaccination might be ineffective against. The one devil's advocate argument that I made against the vaccination when it first rolled out was the speed in which it was rolled out. Now, obviously, it was something that was needed, but the one question that wasn't quite being asked on a mass level was, is this going to be as effective as we need it to be? And what's going to happen if we do see a vaccine-resistant strain come after the vaccination? So, those 3 points alone are very valid points to argue against the vaccination passport. And that's before you even get into the controversial side of the argument. I think the science is just not quite there yet. I think a lot of people are wanting to force these rules and regulations when it comes to the vaccination. Obviously, the vaccination has helped. We've seen a decline in COVID numbers and COVID deaths, more importantly, but I would rather wait on more concrete, solid evidence to support having a vaccination passport.
What about the argument about, I guess, let's look at this in a, from the constitutionalist perspective, right? Because obviously that's going to be something that's going to come up, right? And I get it. None of us are constitutionalist scholars, and we're not, we don't spend all of our days, reading through the Constitution and contextualizing texts. But there's going to be, how quick do you think, and any of you can answer this, but how quick do you think that the lawsuits against this move are going to start coming? Should it pass? Again, it's open to anyone.
They're going to start coming quick. They're going to start coming quick because let me tell you what this is, right? This is shadow authoritarianism. That's what this is, okay? This is America. This is America. You're telling me that you don't want an ID to vote, but you want an ID to do anything as long as you get the vaccine. Vaccinations are medical. It's medical and health related, ordeals, and that's always private. That's always private. That's always American freedom right there. Do I want to take this pill, or are they going to force me to take this pill because of this ailment if I don't want to take it? It's the same thing. If you have any other ailment, if you got the flu, you don't want the flu shot. You telling me you ain't gonna let me go in Target? I can't go see a movie? Man, I'm telling you, shadow authoritarianism, and Joe Biden know exactly what he's doing. Joe Biden is pretty much, he's shaping all of this. Really, he is, because he's just letting it go on. He's egging it on. The same thing. I know we're going to get into it, but with the MLB and the voting thing, Joe Biden is just, what he says goes. If he mentions it, he got an opinion on something, You know, these leagues and corporations are just going to bite at it, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty because this is America. This is the land of the free, the home of the brave, and you can't you can't make people do things, or you can't bait them or blackmail them into doing things. That is un-American. That is un-American. I argue that fact with anybody.
Here's the thing is nowadays people see that there's less and less disease of certain types. And there's a lot of anti-vaxxers out there, but what they don't fail to realize before vaccines, smallpox, measles, there were pretty bad outbreaks, and there was a lot of people dying. And even in the 1930s, you had to show a vaccine, not necessarily a passport, but identification that you got the vaccine for the smallpox to enter places that were quarantined. Even in schools nowadays, most states, it's not federally mandated, but states, it's based on the states and the public schools. You have to show verification of your child being vaccinated unless due to religious reasons, depending on your religion, you can bypass that. Now, what people fail to realize is, the herd immunity, having all these vaccinations has slowed the process of all these deadly diseases. And people would line up to get the vaccines when they were ready. But now, since we've had everybody gets vaccinated, you're less likely to get smallpox or measles and all that good stuff. And that's what people fail to realize, these anti-vaxxers, is if we didn't have these vaccines, we would have a lot of people dying or getting smallpox or getting measles. So that's what they fail to realize. And it's anybody's right. If you don't want to get vaccinated, it is your right to not get vaccinated. I have some friends that are anti-vaxxers. That's fine. I don't judge them at all. This new vaccine, like Rhino pointed out, for COVID is new. We don't know the long-term effects. We don't know how effective it is against new strains. And this is also a new generation. In the 1930s, people were fine. Here, I got vaccinated from smallpox. But nowadays, things are different. It's a new generation. There's people that don't get the flu shot every year. And then there's other people that say, well, the reason why they're like, I don't get the flu shot is because I don't get the flu. And then there's other people on the other side that say, well, it's because a lot of people are getting the flu shot that you don't get the flu. Herd immunity type of thing. So there's people on both sides of the fence. To come into the US, you have to prove that you've been vaccinated, I believe, for 14 different things. So there's different ways that you have to prove that you're vaccinated. I'm still on the fence on this because I still think, to have a vaccine passport is just another way for the federal government, if they're going to mandate this. I think it should be a state-by-state thing if they're going to do this. But I still think it's another way for them to control you, just like they have been a little bit with the quarantine of the COVID. So it's a different time, and people aren't going to be more willing to accept, okay, give me the COVID-19 vaccine passport. I don't care. I'll show it. I just want to go wherever I please. It's a different time. So it's going to be, it's going to affect people differently, especially with social media nowadays. Rhino, what were you going to say?
You're on mute.
God bless America. I never do that. No, I was raising my hand to say that I never get the flu shot. I've never had a flu shot in my 34 years of life. But one thing that I actually have two things I want to expound on real quick. But one of the things that Julius had spoke on for privacy, my mother cannot get the vaccination. She has an autoimmune disease, and she is also severely asthmatic. So if she were to receive complications because of the vaccination with both her autoimmune disease and her asthma, she could potentially die. And her doctor actually told her absolutely not. Her doctor didn't even give her the choice. He said, you are absolutely not getting the vaccine. So are you going to tell my mom that she can never travel the world again the rest of her life? She can never leave the state of Illinois. Then, like Julius was saying, can she not go into a Target? Can she not go into a movie? What kind of exceptions are we going to make with this? What kind of leeway are we going to give people? It's way too early. And I agree with Wyatt. Vaccines are very important. Smallpox, all of the diseases and viruses that went around, you can just count half a dozen from the 1700s up until now that have killed millions of people. They're important. it's just too early in the game to say that, yes, we're going to require these people to get vaccinated before they can travel. And then what? Let's say a super strain comes up that's resistant to the vaccine, and then you have all of these people traveling regularly again internationally, and then you have COVID 2.0 in 2022 that's 10 times worse. So, I'm all about opening up travel 100%. I'm all about doing that, but come on, let's let the people live their lives before we start saying, what kind of regulations are going to have to undergo before they're able to do anything. I mean, it's just way too early. That's my opinion. It's way too early.
Well, I agree with you, Rhino. I mean, I think obviously I got it, I trusted my gut and just said, you know what, I'm going to go out and get it. And hopefully I don't grow a tail in, a few years here, but
your head got about 2 times the size.
You're going to grow a cheese head. That's what you're going to grow.
No. Come on. That's a good segue. That's a good segue into our, let's go ahead and talk, let's talk sports. And actually, now that we are onto our sports section, I'm pleased to welcome for the first time on the On Point Discussion podcast, our good friend Brandon. You can find him on Twitter at Wisco_Brandon. He is the exclusive host of the Brew City Pod, and he is one half of the host for the Titletown Lounge, which Rhino is also a part of as well. And I want to start off the sports commentary section for the night by saying that the Mariners the Mariners beat the White Sox 8-4, and I am devastated because we were actually up.
Weep.
But the Cubs still lost to the Brewers today, so
and I wept.
That's all that matters, and that's all that matters here. So, Brandon, how are you? I'm just as happy as you are about the Brewers' victory. I was pretty excited about that when I was driving home from work, but now I'm a little sick. So,
hey guys, absolute pleasure being here. Thank you for having me. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of your show. Tip my hat off to Rhino and Juan putting this network together, instilling such a great work environment. And fun. It's fun to do this. It's fun to come on the show. It's fun to talk sports, and it's always fun when you beat the Cubs. I mean, it was a great day. It was a great day.
It was good
Rhino,
seeing you, Brandon.
buddy,
Thanks
good seeing
by.
you. Good seeing you, buddy. How you doing? Brew City Pod. I'm super excited about it. It's going to cover the Bucks and the Brewers. Obviously, Brew City kind of ties into it, so I'm excited. There's not a whole lot of podcasts out there that cover the NBA or especially the Milwaukee Bucks. So it's going to be fun to dive into them as they get ready for a hopefully eventful and long playoff run. So that's exciting. We kick off Friday evening at 6. So yeah, I'm stoked. It's a solo show. We're going to learn a bunch of stuff on the way together, and we're going to have fun with it.
I obviously, as you know, and I'm sure the audience knows this by now, but yours truly lives in Milwaukee as well, and so I have been able to see the ins and outs of the city of Milwaukee. I spend most of my days, driving around the city, talking with a whole bunch of people here in the Brew City, and it's a great town. It really is. Obviously, just like any major city, it has its problems, but there's so much good in the city. There's so many awesome things to look at, so many things to do. And I am ready for the Brew City Pod to bring to light all of those, awesome things that this city has to offer, but also, even bringing attention to some of the things that the city needs to improve on. So I'm very excited to see what you do with that show, Brandon. And I wish you all the best, as I've told you many times. And I'm sure your co-host up there, Rhino, also, expresses the same sentiment. And
I could tell any one of our listeners who happen to be Bucks or Brewers fans, check this show out. Absolutely. If you've ever watched any of the Titletown Lounge podcasts in the past, very knowledgeable dude, very well spoken. He doesn't quite wear the right clothing at times, but we can look past that.
Oh man, you guys, thank you, man. That means a lot coming from you guys. I really do appreciate that. Juan, kind of like what you were saying. There's so much to this city. And even though I'm from here, I was born and raised here. I've been gone for 12 years. So I'm coming back home. I've been home for about a year and a half, but there's a lot I don't know. And there's a lot I want, the viewers out there and the listeners to help me with. I want to know where, there's a lot of stuff to do in Milwaukee, especially this time of year. It starts to really pick up this time of year. So I want to know where the best place to get a beer, after work on a Friday night, where the best fish fry is, where the best lakes at, where's the best hiking spots. It's going to go beyond sports. We're obviously going to break down the Bucks and the Brewers as the Brewers start their season and the Bucks are getting into their postseason. So it's obviously going to be, what we really dive into. I actually have not tweeted it out yet, but I guess I can announce it. Dario Melendez will be joining me on Friday night. He is the TV pre and post TV host for Bally Sports, which is formerly known as Fox Sports. So he actually just messaged me back today. He said he'll come on Friday night. So we'll be having him, he covers both the Bucks and Brewers. So it will be able to knock out, two of the main topics. So that'll be fun. And then hopefully they beat up on the Cards these next few days. So we're excited. I'm excited.
You may recognize Dario also from he makes appearances on 920 AM. 920 AM and 97.3 The Game in the Milwaukee area as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's been doing the post and pregame shows for the Bucks and the Brewers for a couple years now. His wife is Jen Latta. She does I believe she works for ESPN Chicago.
Yep. She's back in Milwaukee now.
She's back in Milwaukee now. Yeah, but she was a part of ESPN Chicago. Did a lot of Bulls, Cubs, Bears stuff. So great sports team between the two of them. And I look forward to listening to Dario on your show on Friday, bud.
Yeah, I'm really excited. When he got back to me today, it was really exciting. So he's going to join about halfway through the show. I'll knock out some stuff prior to him coming on, and then we'll kind of dive into the heavy and thick stuff later on in the show. So that's exciting.
Absolutely. I very much look forward to seeing that show. And I can't wait, Brandon. I really can't. Out of all the shows, I think this is probably one of the ones that I'm probably my own bias too, again, because I live here in Milwaukee, but one of the ones that I'm really looking forward to. And I'm very excited for that. So,
thanks, Juan.
Here at On Point Discussion, we will also, not this week, but later down the road, we will also be having a guest on as well. But we'll obviously share the details for that, at a different time. But so the big reason, the big topic of the week has, of course, been the MLB All-Star Game that, unfortunately, pains me to say this, did not come to Milwaukee. Milwaukee was not chosen as a site for it. As much as I lobbied with my one tweet to the MLB, the economic implications of Milwaukee missing out on this event. I mean, Brandon, both you and I, again, we both live here. I can only imagine how much revenue, the MLB All-Star Game would have brought, here to Milwaukee. Should they have, made AmFam Field their host stadium for that game. What are your thoughts on the MLB, ditching its plans or not even taking into consideration maybe, Mayor Tom Barrett's pitch to bring the game and all of its festivities here to Milwaukee?
Yeah, when the news first broke, started cycling through that they were possibly getting out of Atlanta. Whatever your thoughts are on that, that's you. My first thought was Milwaukee for biased reasons, but it's, you're honoring Hank Aaron. I mean, what other way would you honor Hank Aaron outside of Atlanta than Milwaukee? You're talking about his first team and his last team, where he started his career, where he became known as Hank Aaron. Of course, he, did great in Atlanta, and obviously he's, one of the best players to ever play. Milwaukee, and I kind of went into this with Rhino a couple nights ago. Milwaukee's it's a small city with such a big heart. We get looked over a lot. For years we had to hear about where Giannis was going to play after his contract left. Last year, all we heard was, where's Yelich going? It's a city that, if you live here and you know it, and Juan and Rhino, you kind of do, it's a great place. It's an amazing place. The people here are phenomenal. So when it came out, that they were moving, and I know Mayor Tom Barrett and Governor Tony Evers put a really good pitch, to MLB to bring it into Milwaukee. They had a plan put in place. I thought there was no way it wasn't going to come to Milwaukee. I mean, I really did. I thought it was, it was a sure lock that we would have it. And then I was on a Zoom call and the news broke that it was going to Colorado. And the first thing that came to my mind was, I don't want to ever hear anybody tell me that money doesn't talk, because that's exactly what it did. You're not going to move the game out of Atlanta, saying that you're honoring Hank Aaron. That's why it was in Atlanta. So what would be the next step that you would move it out? If you're going to move it out of Atlanta, where would be the next city? Well, let's see where he started his career, where he ended his career, and where he has his name and number retired in the stadium. So he moved it out to Colorado, and they gave in my opinion, a bogus excuse of hotel room, and Colorado already had a plan in place, and yada, yada, yada. In the way, I've been to Coors Field. It's gorgeous. I lived there for a few years. It's a beautiful area. Don't get me wrong. Nothing against them. But it would have meant a lot to the city, especially a city that's seen a lot of struggle. I know a lot of places have, not taking anything away from them, but it would have been amazing to see, that parking lot packed with, tailgating prior to an all-star game. Small businesses would have flourished during that time. Hotels, businesses, all kinds of, things would have been improved. And, it sucks, to be quite honest with you. It was something that I was really looking forward to. Something I started to get a little bit of my hopes up for. And it's it's the mindset that we have in Milwaukee. We're small market. We get looked over for everything. Everybody that plays on our teams that are good, you turn on ESPN or anything else, they want to talk about where they're going next. It's just, it's what makes Milwaukee tough. It's what makes us who we are. It makes us, defend our players the way that we do. But overall, it really was disappointing. And I was upset to see it go to Colorado.
Let me say something about that on the other hand, with it being moved, starting with Atlanta. The commissioner dropped the ball. He dropped the ball when he lightly punished the Houston Astros for cheating, and he dropped the ball here because he was pressured to move it out of Atlanta. And that hurt the small businesses there in Atlanta as well. And that would have honored Hank Aaron. Now, having said that, I do agree that it should have been in Milwaukee if it wasn't going to be in Atlanta, because again, you talked about Hank Aaron starting his career there. I've been to the Rockies Stadium, Coors Field. It's right next to all these big booming bars and businesses. So I can see why they put it there. But if it wasn't going to be in Atlanta, I definitely want it to be in Milwaukee. So I'm very disappointed that they decided not to choose Milwaukee. So that's my take on that one.
For those who are just joining us, we're currently being we currently have Brandon from the Brew City Pod here on the show with us. Rhino, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I kind of want to expound on what Wyatt was just talking about. Rob Manfred failed miserably, and I think he's a coward for moving the All-Star game out of Atlanta. Moving the All-Star game out of Atlanta doesn't prove or show anything. It doesn't punish the politicians in Georgia. Now, whether you agree with what the politicians are doing or not, that is besides the point. The only people that Rob Manfred is punishing by moving this All-Star game out are the small businesses, the localities, the people of the Atlanta area. These are people that are going to miss out on thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars of revenue during the All-Star game alone. These people had nothing to do with the legislation that passed in Georgia. Whether their opinions are for it or against it is irrelevant. They had nothing to do with writing the laws. They had nothing to do with passing the laws. These are people that are running businesses and want to make money. And this was a very good opportunity for them come July to have a very large stream of revenue come in that they would otherwise probably wouldn't have expected outside of the normal revenue they would get for, regular Atlanta Braves games. The All-Star game is still a big deal. It draws a large crowd, but the biggest thing about it is it draws a large tourism crowd. If it were to stay in Atlanta or go to Milwaukee or even in Coors Field, it's not just the surrounding area fan base that's going to that game. You're getting people from all 50 states. You're getting people internationally that are coming in. The Home Run Derby is one of the biggest events out of all four major league sports in America. It's one of the biggest events to watch, to be at. I went to a Home Run Derby in Arizona. It was one of the most exciting things I've ever seen in my life. So the only thing that Rob Manfred accomplished by moving the game out of Atlanta was he punished the people of Atlanta. He didn't punish one single politician by doing that. Now, with that being said, both Brandon and Wyatt were right. It absolutely should have been in Milwaukee. And I think it's hypocritical to say that this particular event was to honor Hank Aaron, one of the greatest baseball players in the history of the game, arguably top 5, to say that this game was in honor of him and not bring it to Milwaukee is another failure by Rob Manfred. And Brandon hit it on the head. Money talks. That's the only reason you can give to me to say that, all right, we're going to move the All-Star game to a stadium that Hank Aaron never played in, where a team resides that Hank Aaron never played against. He was retired 20 years before the Rockies were even imagined. How are you honoring Hank Aaron by moving the game to Colorado? It's all about money. It's all about revenue. It never had anything to do with Hank Aaron. They're just slapping that name on it for symbolism, and that's it. I'll go to the grave believing that. I was very angry when they moved the game out of Atlanta to begin with, and then I was even more angry when I found out that it was going to Colorado. I thought it was a joke, absolute joke.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that is the case. Money talks in a lot of these situations, and the state of politics, obviously, in this country is very tense at the moment. I mean, that's something we can all agree on, right? And when you have things like this happening, it only makes division worse. Rob Manfred, yes, should be absolutely ashamed of himself for making this cowardly move. Number one, it was a cowardly move. And if they're going to honor the individual like the way that the way that they wanted to, why do that, or why not bring it to Milwaukee, right? It makes so much sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense for them to be out in Colorado. And I don't know, I guess I'm still looking at this from the initial thing that I brought up earlier, the economic aspect of how much money that would bring into Milwaukee, and the publicity that the city would get. And like Brandon was saying earlier, Milwaukee is a small market, it's a small market city. I mean, the Bucks are here, the Brewers are here, both quote unquote small market teams. I mean, it's almost like, Milwaukee needs every help that it can get. I mean, and these events only add to that. But I mean, Milwaukee lost out last year on the Democratic convention. I mean, this would have been excellent to make up for some of that lost revenue. But I can understand, that's not Tom Barrett's decision. That decision belongs to the top over at MLB. But just a cowardly move by Rob Manfred.
Can I just mention something about this real quick?
Absolutely, Julius. Go ahead.
I've been to Milwaukee a few times. I'm actually very fond of the city myself. The Cream City, as they like to call it, has some great nicknames, has some great architecture, great history. It's just one of those just rough and tough, gritty cities. And I'm from one myself, so I definitely appreciate a city like Milwaukee. And those type of events, I remember when the Super Bowl was in Detroit, in Super Bowl 40, Steelers Seahawks was in Detroit. I remember we had an all-star game, I believe in like 2011, 2010 there. Those, cities like Detroit, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Cleveland, Indianapolis, those mid-market, Midwestern cities, not named Chicago, those type of events mean so much to those people in those cities. It really does, to the kids, to the workers, to the businesses, to pretty much everything. And they're just letting politics destroy real life. That's what we're doing. That's the era we're in, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the era. I miss the old times. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, I really don't like this the way they do things nowadays. And this MLB thing is it's clear as day. It's corporations, money. That's all it is. It just sucks that the people in Milwaukee got to suffer because of it. The people in Atlanta have to. Atlanta's the blackest big city in America, and what I mean. People, jobs and relief to some of those neighborhoods, some bad neighborhoods down there in Atlanta that need that revenue. It's just horrible, man. It really is.
I just I don't understand how on one foot the MLB can stand for so many social justice issues, and then you can justify taking this revenue out of a city where, you know, it flourishes with black owned businesses. I can't remember exactly what the figure is, but I think it was something along the lines of 31 to 34% of the local businesses owned in Atlanta are black owned. You're
Most
not
of the
punishing
city by far, by the way.
You're not
By
punishing
far.
the politicians. You're punishing these black owned businesses, these minority owned businesses. Those are the ones that are going to be punished the most with this. I don't understand how on one side you could fight for social justice, and on the other hand, you punish the exact same people that you claim to stand up for. And that's ultimately all it did. There's not going to be any outcome from the MLB leaving Atlanta, leaving that All-Star game. No politician is going to be like, "Oh crap, we lost the All-Star game. Well, we might as well change our mind on this legislation. Let's just, let's cancel this bill." That's not. When has that ever happened? When has a politician ever flipped his mind because an All-Star game or a Super Bowl or NBA All-Star game has ever left their state? That's never happened. They should have stayed in Atlanta, and they should have used that platform. If you wanted to, if you really wanted to make a difference, use that platform when you're in Atlanta to go out and talk publicly, to talk to the citizens, to vote those officials out that they don't want in there. If you don't like the legislation that's happening in your state, there's one way to change it: vote. So why not? Why couldn't the MLB use that platform to go there and educate people? Guys, look, we feel strongly about these laws. This is what you should be doing in your community. That would have been the more appropriate response to that, instead of moving the All-Star game out of Atlanta.
There's a comment in the YouTube stream I wanted to ask, because it raises a good question, right? And that is, Adam asks, do you think that Atlanta will get a future All-Star game, if this law is still in place? And that doesn't just apply obviously to MLB, but to any other league or any other sport that is, that's obviously a prominent nature in today's day and age. So to be quite honest with you, I mean, if you want the simple answer, I'm going to go ahead and just say no. I mean,
Yes.
if you have MLB, which is easily, either number one or number two in most popular, sports leagues, right? Sports in today's day and age, I wouldn't be surprised if other leagues followed suit, right away with that, and just started saying, you know what, we're going to start pulling our events out of Georgia, and so until they can start getting those, better legislation and better laws passed down in that state. Now, the long-term implication of that, right? I mean, start thinking about how much lost revenue is going to be lost in that state. How many businesses will start to suffer because as a result of, not getting those, large mainstream events in downtown Atlanta. I mean, that's really the only big city in Atlanta, right? I mean, I'm trying to think, Atlanta, obviously, it's
Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah, Georgia,
Augusta.
which by the way is a beautiful town. I've been there. It is amazing.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Almost drowned when I was swimming down there, but that's a different story for a different day.
Need
the time,
buoys.
the current was very very aggressive in the Atlantic Ocean. That's all I'm going to say. So there's so many different ways to look at this, guys. We can look at this from the political side. We can look at this from the economic side. You can look at it from the social side. I mean, it's just it's a very unfortunate situation, for that state. And quite frankly, I feel pretty bad for those people down there who are not going to have that, have that money flowing into their businesses and whatnot, with the appearance of the All-Star game, which I believe is in July, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's right around the 4th of July.
It comes around in the 4th of July. Yes, Ryan, go ahead.
I wanted to actually respond and counteract your response to that. I guarantee you, within 5 years, Atlanta will host either a MLB All-Star game, Super Bowl, or any kind of big sporting event within the next 5 years. And here's why. We're in the age of the social justice warrior. And there's a lot of social justice warrior causes that are great. There's a lot of them that are, a little, out there. But the main thing that the MLB is doing by this is they want to be put in the spotlight. They want to have the popularity. They want to have the headlines, the the news articles. You know, they want to be on CNN scrolling across the bottom saying MLB leaves Atlanta. They want that popularity. That is the only reason why the MLB left Atlanta for the All-Star game, is because it's going to draw attention. Once this story is no longer circulating around the news, once this story is no longer big headlines when it's on page 9 instead of page 1, no one's going to give a shit anymore. And I guarantee you within 3 to 4 years, Atlanta's going to have their name back in the hat for another All-Star game. They're going to have serious consideration for it because it's no longer going to be an important topic to people. They're going to be fighting something else at that particular point in time. So yes, Atlanta will have a big sporting event within the next 4 to 5 years, guaranteed. One of those is going to be the SEC championship game next year. So yeah, I think they will have an All-Star game
And
or
not-
some sort of big event.
Kind of to piggyback off of you, Rhino, they just held the NBA All-Star game. So
All
with
these leagues are
a month
killing
ago.
themselves, though. They're killing themselves. I'm telling you, because once you involve politics, I've been saying it for throughout the whole Trump era, because that's really when it started. You cannot put politics or religion or anything controversial or divisive into sports. It's just not gonna. It's just, you can't pick a side if you're a league. You cannot do that. You're alienating so many people, and it's going to come out of their pockets. And people are already not watching the NBA as much anymore. The NFL, really, football is king. That's the only reason that it's gonna make it. But the MLB and the NBA, they better chill out. I'm telling you, the NBA down like 60-70%, and it's not because of COVID.
The MLB, I mean, look at what happened with the strike that they had, 93, 94, I believe. But look at how the ratings went down after that. NFL became king after that and never lost that. But the thing is like going back to what Rhino says, the politicians don't care. They're still going to have their money. They're still going to be rich. They don't care about small businesses. They don't care about people. They just care about their power and their money. Most politicians, there are some very few out there that do care, but they don't care. And so when Rob Manfred was pressured to do it, to move it, he moved it because he was pressured to. He's a weak-minded guy. Now, Bud Selig, he did have some imperfections as a commissioner, but he did do some good things for the MLB. But right now, Rob Manfred's legacy or career as a commissioner has been crap shit for what he's done. He's basically he'll get pressured to do something and he'll do it.
You know, and just really quickly going back, I know why you mentioned the strikes in the 90s. Even just with like last year, like the season when they were trying to figure out how many games they were going to play. You know, obviously due to like the COVID stuff that was going on. I mean, even then, MLB ratings took a bit of a hit. I remember, reading stuff on that too. So any little thing that happens in sports that isn't directly sports related is going to come back and bite you. And by you, I mean, the sports, the league, the professional league in question. So when we look back 20 years or, even in 5 years, and we look back to this and ask, was that a good move by Rob Manfred to move the All-Star game to the middle of Colorado because of, this voting law that was put into place in Georgia? I mean, I think it'll be a mixed bag, of answers, because people obviously on the left are going to say, well, yes, it shows, dominance over a oppressive voting law. But of course, you'll have your other side that'll say, no, it was a horrible decision. Businesses are going to get hurt. It's going to put yet another stain on sports and meddling with politics. So unfortunately, there's no clear answer. What I will say, though, objectively, is that Milwaukee took a huge L on this, unfortunately, because we're not going to get the money and the revenue here in the city, and I'm very sad.
Yeah,
Manfred. That I can say with full objection.
Yeah, Manfred. I mean, he really set the tone for being the commissioner when he dropped the ball. He had a perfect opportunity with the Houston Astros to really nail his foot into the ground and show who and what he was about, and he had a perfect opportunity to put them to the cross and show not only teams and owners and GMs, but worldwide, nationwide, that he's here to take ownership of MLB, and he let him off the hook. And I mean, that's the tone he set. I mean, like you said, last year with COVID, there was almost no MLB season. I mean, there were 60 games. I mean, I guess that was a season. I don't count it as a season, but it is what it is. But he set the tone. I mean, he dropped the ball right as he took over as commissioner. I mean, he had a perfect opportunity to really, really set the bar high for himself and for his league, and he completely dropped the ball.
Yes, he definitely set the standard very low. The bar is very low right now, guys, with him. There's no confidence. I mean, at least that's how I see it. There's no confidence in him as the top executive of the MLB, and that sucks because baseball's a beautiful sport. I have so much respect for. Honestly, I have more respect, I think, for baseball players than I do for football players. That's my little that's my take for the night. I don't know. I just feel
hot take.
That's my hot take. Yes, baseball's better than football. I love my White Sox. I can't. Rhino's already giving me that look.
No, that was a look of yes.
Yeah, he's gonna go on Titletown Lounge this weekend and completely destroy me. On the show of my bad takes.
Condolences, Juan couldn't make it today. One quick last thing about Rob Manfred is he's coming very close to Adam Silver territory in terms of the biggest joke commissioner in all of North American
Okay.
sports.
All right. Hang on. Adam Silver is actually not that bad. Come on.
I agree.
He's horrible.
I don't think Adam Silver is to that.
Adam Silver's a clown.
To
So
Juan's
are you,
credit,
so are you, but you're still on the show.
Juan's credit,
come
Adam Silver started doing good things when he first started with the NBA, and now it's like nosediving. So
he had a good start to his career, but what he's done over the last 2 years in terms of completely ignoring what is going on in China because they make a massive revenue off of that country, I will never forgive that man for that. When the coach for it was either Dallas or Houston. When
it was the GM
or the GM, excuse me,
Morley.
it was the GM when he spoke out about what's going on with the genocide and the internment camps in Houston or in China rather, and they made him take sensitivity training. Absolutely not, dude. Absolutely not. No.
Okay, fine. On the China, okay, fine. On the issue of China, yes, it's been a disgrace. But I think what Wyatt was saying about how it all started at first.
Yes, I will give him credit for that. He did.
It was a good run. It was a good run, and quite frankly, that's mostly what I remember him for. Is for obviously how his reign started with the NBA and him being commissioner. But it's undeniable, of course, the atrocities that are happening in China. I mean, that's horrible, right? And that should be condemned to the fullest extent. And unfortunately, it pains me to say this, right? But unfortunately, the NBA is, meddled a lot in, with China and whatnot, and that's just unacceptable as well. So,
shout out to Canada for everything they've done in the world of sports when it comes to China. No, I'm seriously unanimous voting to take them out of the Olympics. That is big. Now that is setting a statement. Yeah. That is setting precedent for atrocities that are happening and your unwillingness to be involved in your nation's events. That is the example that should be set as opposed to what happened with the All-Star game.
I hear you. Okay.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. We're not going to get too. This is the sports section, Rhino. We don't get political on the sports section.
It's sports related, though. It's sports related.
Sports are now unfortunately political.
Yeah, exactly.
That is true.
They've always been political.
So, Brandon, your show then on Friday night, right? What time is that show going to be recorded at? For all
Yep, we're going to go live at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Pretty excited. I'm going to go into Drew Holiday signing the extension, which I think is completely gone under the radar for probably because it's Milwaukee. Had he signed with LA or Brooklyn, they would have an hour-long special on it. But that's why you're bringing attention to it. I'm going to bring attention to it. Everybody's going to know about Drew Holiday. Yeah, we're going to recap the Brewers. They're about a week into their season come Friday. Right now they're 500. So, it's really early with baseball. Obviously, Rhino's a huge fan of the Brewers. And Lorenzo Cain. Yeah. What a what a great game today.
Ooh.
And then we're going to kind of get into Giannis having a little bit of a knee issue. How does that impact the Bucks going forward? Does it impact them? Dario's going to join me halfway through the show at about 6:30. We'll run with him for about a half hour, kind of wrap it up, and have lots to talk about. And tailgating. I don't know if anybody has heard the news. The Brewers announced this morning tailgating at AmFam Field is open on Monday, April 12th. So that is super exciting. I am already checking my calendar. I want to do a live show out at the parking lot of a game coming up. I know, Juan, you talked about joining me. So we're going to kind of look that into the foreseeable future and kind of look into that. The weather out in Milwaukee's been amazing.
Beautiful.
Shockingly
Beautiful.
amazing. I have my air conditioning on today. So,
come on.
so I'm not a heat guy. I like
It
the
is
cold.
April, what is it? April 7th. Come on. Not even, we're barely a week in the fine.
Bro,
fine.
if I'm being honest with you, it's been on since Sunday, but that's a whole nother
Oh my
discussion.
God.
That's funny.
So yeah,
That's
we're gonna dive into all things Milwaukee. Again, I want to hear about what makes Milwaukee great. I know what makes Milwaukee great, but I want to hear everybody else's opinion, and kind of get into our teams and see what it's going to take to bring a championship to Milwaukee. Hopefully this is the year. We need it.
Well, as I alluded to earlier in the show, and as all of us here have alluded to, we wish you nothing but the best on your weekly show. And I absolutely look forward to, meeting up with you at the tailgate and helping you do that live show. I would totally be down to do that. So that's a bit of a spoiler here for the audience that's listening in. That yes, a tailgating episode will be in the works hopefully here.
Rhino's invited too. Rhino's totally invited. I know
Hey, if
he's.
there's beer, I'll be there.
He's a Cubs fan. He's not.
I actually, I'm throwing this out there. I know you guys have busy schedules. The day tailgating opens, the Cubs are in town. Just throwing that out there.
I can't. I'm sorry. I can't deal with Cubs fans in America. They are Cubs fans are literally intolerable at the ballpark.
If you deal with Rhino, you can deal with Cubs fans. Cubs fans are fine.
Rhino's a realistic Cubs fan. He
just
knows.
when I see, I've seen, when the Northsiders like to come down and down to the Raids and in Chicago, and literally there's never any fights at Guaranteed Rate. It's a beautiful stadium. Everyone's beautiful. I'm beautiful.
Don't lie to our audience on the first episode.
It's a great vibe. Everyone's peaceful and loving and caring. The second the Northsiders come down to the Raids, it's square up and Lot G out there. I mean, it's a disaster. It's a disgrace. Believe me, as Donald Trump would say, believe me, it is awful. So
Fake news.
Fake news. Everything Cubs fans say is fake news.
You're just mad because when it's a Cubs Sox game, we take up like 70% of your stadium. Same thing with you in Milwaukee, Brandon.
That's not true, and you know it. That was true like 10 years ago. That ain't
was true
true
about
anymore.
10 minutes ago.
That ain't true, and you know it.
Cubs fans are so delusional. I mean, it's not even funny. Like you're living in the past. You have to live in the past so much.
They come up to Milwaukee. They come up to Milwaukee because if you haven't paid attention and if you watch TV or you follow, the Cubs on Twitter, that's a dumpster that they watch baseball games down in Chicago. It's a dumpster. It's garbage. It's falling apart.
Get them off the
falling
show.
apart. Okay, nobody wants to go in Wrigley Field to watch a game. Come
Actually,
up to Miller Park.
Can I share a secret with you guys?
Chicago. This is for all you Chicago. Come up to Miller Park. Come spend that money. We'll take it.
I go to Wrigley Field when I'm in Chicago.
And they have
I
a
love
lot of
Wrigley Field.
and they have a lot of beer on tap. I just want to throw that out there too.
I actually prefer Miller Park over Wrigley Field.
I've heard a lot of
idea.
Cubs fans. Yeah,
I prefer
What?
Wrigley. I prefer Miller. Dude, so think about it. It's right off the interstate. You can tailgate. You don't have to go bar to bar paying $8-9 a beer before the game. The bathrooms don't smell like urine.
Because
Other
everyone
than
pees on the
that,
floor. Everyone pees
they
on the
smell like-
floor. I mean, I made this point a few weeks ago, and Cubs fans were literally in my mentions ready to rip
We
my head
can
off.
say that. We can say that, not you.
Well, it doesn't subtract from the fact that it's still true. Wrigley, I can't even begin to imagine how much of a dumpster fire is in there.
Actually, it's a very beautiful stadium. It's phenomenal.
When the ceiling isn't falling on top of you, yeah, it's probably pretty nice. But
The only time that Brandon and I will not be friends will be when the Brewers and the Sox play in July.
I don't even mind the White Sox.
Which
Interleague play.
Yeah, well,
The Cardinals just get, or the Cardinals too. Adam's listening. He already knows. The Cubs fans just get under my skin.
We can all mutually agree. Literally every single person in this podcast right now, we got Braves, Tigers, Brewers, Cubs, Sox. We hate the Cardinals. All of us collectively.
I actually don't like the
I
Cardinals.
agree.
I'll be honest. I really just
Sorry,
Julius
Adam,
is
Sorry.
the only one here who's lost a World Series to them.
True, but we got the most AL pennants. I mean, it's nothing, man. Listen, the Tigers, it's nothing. All my teams suck right now. I am cold. Don't even bring me in this conversation, dog. Don't even bring me in this conversation.
You do have a player that has the home run of the year, though, and that'll be the home run of the year even in October.
You talking about Miggy in the snow?
Miggy on opening day hitting the home run in the blizzard and then diving into second because he couldn't see the ball. Home run of the year.
Yeah. I'm hoping
that was a beautiful.
I'm hoping he gets 3,000 hit this year, so he can go riding off into the sunset in next year. So he's had a great career. Oh.
He sure has. Absolutely.
Well, I look forward to the tailgate for the Brewers and White Sox. I'll be there. I'll be belligerent, and it'll be pretty bad.
Yeah, stay tuned. We'll get something in the works. Hopefully, this weather stays the course that it's on, and we'll be in line for a really beautiful summer.
I'm optimistic. I share that optimism. Well, Brandon, sir, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on tonight on the debut episode of the new show On Point Discussion. Remember to follow him at Wisco_Brandon and to follow his podcasts at Brew City Pod and at Chinatown Lounge.
Yep.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Still getting used to it.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys again. Salute to you guys, man. Putting on a heck of a network in the short time that you've already done it. It's an amazing experience. Everybody is in to help each other, and it's just a tremendous. I wouldn't even call it a work environment. I mean, it is, but it's not. We have fun. Last couple nights we sat on Zoom and drank and BS, and it's been phenomenal. So thank you guys. Thank you for the support. Yeah, tune in Friday, 6:00. Really looking forward to it. And if you're a Bucks and Brewers fan, definitely tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you.
Absolutely. And yes, we, as Brandon, we all of us here at On Point Discussion, we have your back. And again, reiterating what I've said 100,000 times, wish you nothing but the best. But this has been the first episode of On Point Discussion with your hosts, Rhino at Sports Talk Rhino, Wyatt at the Cornelius 7, Julius at the Fifth Top, and of course yours truly at Bears Fanatical 94. If you are watching on YouTube, don't go anywhere. The post On Point Discussion YouTube telecast begins right now.
Go Cubs.
I stopped recording. Be you though.
How much?
Hi Bears fan.
How much
Hi,
can
Bears
we be
fan.
us in this live deal? Because there's a little bit of breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Well, On Point Discussion is live on YouTube, again, powered by our friends over at One Call Technology down in Tennessee. The time is 7:45 Central Time. Rhino has some breaking news. Go ahead.
It's breaking news.
Okay, it is breaking news. So what we will do, ladies and gentlemen, is we will hop off of the live stream and we will be back next week, Wednesday. Stay tuned. We have some more guests coming up. And with that being said, have a good week.